Okay, well, we're here for the second segment in our demonstration of how to do RBQT 18 inches. We did the reset breath, which is the RB, in our last video. I'll link it here to this one. Today we want to talk about the quiet touch, and I have with me the creator of this technique, Brenda Julian Williams. Join me today in welcoming Brenda.
Oh, thank you, Yvonne. I'm excited about the second part. We learned a lot the first time. Now we're here again to expand and to fill in a few gaps, and then to share with people how to do this very simple technique. And again, you'll have it posted on your website. I'll have it posted on mine. They're going to have access to these techniques, and they're tools that anybody can use.
Yes, that's the beauty of it. Tell me a little bit about how did this come about? I mean, it's very simple the way you place your hands on it, but there's something magical about it. Can you tell me more?
Well, two things, and it didn't come together with both positions in the beginning. In the beginning, it was simply the left hand somewhere over your heart area, because we knew automatically there was a reason you wear your wedding ring on the left hand. On that finger, it's a direct connection into the heart. So that was about the simplest of the science that we had around it. What we did know that there was a difference if you put your right hand over your chest and your left hand over the chest. That as this progressed, we learned that there was a difference in how the physicality responded to that. And that as that progressed, we also found some reasons for that. So we knew in the beginning that we would just work with the left hand over the chest always, and do it with the reset breath. It seemed to amplify. It had a way of bringing us closer to the experience of what the reset breath was doing, that it was bringing us into that parasympathetic place. Mm-hmm. It did have to do something with how we understood internally how the body responded. And so we were magnifying it or amplifying it or assisting it. Mm-hmm. Down the road a while later, I would notice that when I was sitting there, my right hand would automatically just go down to my lap. Mm-hmm. It would just be in my lap. It was some years before we realized the joke about the thumb kind of going into the belly button. What that means in the bigger picture today is that what we did was to connect the entire system, the chakra system, as well as the routing system. That's how they work together with this hands-on piece. Mm-hmm. It's not something that just floats around. We're actually participating now in our self-adjust that the reset breath brings into place. So as time progressed, it allowed us to move deeper into the experience. But in the beginning, the only thing you have to know are the mechanics. Mm-hmm. The mechanics of the reset breath, starting with an exhale, inhale, and exhale. Mm-hmm. The mechanics of quiet touch are simple. Left hand always on the chest area. Sometimes it will move a little bit, but it creates an electromagnetic connection to the heart, to that special place in the heart. So you bring that hand into place and you notice where it feels right. Mm-hmm. Move it around until it feels right. The right hand again, down almost at the top of the pubic bone. You're cradling that lower abdominal. The vagus sits in that area. So what we're doing not only is closing the circuit of the communication inside, we're now allowing us to physically work with it to bring assistance to how the vagus creates the oxytocin and the calming hormones. We can amplify that output. So it just evolved over a long period of time. But we were using this particularly with just the left hand in the early days of Quiet Miracles. Yeah, that's how it came about.
And I love the way it organically morphed into this. And I talk many times about how we receive our guidance, and sometimes it is a breadcrumb trail. you pick up a piece here, you look at this, you go, wow, that's got to go somewhere on this piece, this puzzle. Later on, it starts to make sense, and you put it all together, and then you realize, oh, this is a powerful tool that we've evolved into. And I think part of that is that we had to be ready for it, maybe as a whole, as a human vessel. Maybe there were some upgrades in our system that needed to take place before we could actually utilize the tool.
Possibly, but another explanation for that could be that we have disassociated ourselves with how our body works.
Oh.
We are more inclined to look at things from the outside in.
Mm-hmm.
So we've lost touch, and definitely touch. We do not activate those multisensory receptors on the skin, which is the largest organ of the body. There is a reason we're in a skin suit and not just out, dancing around opaque and ethered. So what happened over the years, and then eventually science caught up to share with us what was actually happening with that. What was actually happening as we reset in doing that breath with the exhale first? What was actually happening with the hands being in this position? Now there's an abundance of research that tells you how critical that left hand, that connection, that magnetic connection is with the heart. Not just the words that say, speak from your heart or live from your heart. No, there's a reason we're connecting and closing this circuit. There's a reason the vagus, the right hand, is so critical. The vagus nerve connects to every system in the body. Mm-hmm. It's connected to everything. Mm-hmm. So when we close that circuit, making it all the way in with us, it starts with the left hand circuiting through the body, reaching the right hand. It's not going away from us. It is completely internal. Mm. And the vagus gives us that internal scan of what's going on, but it also tells us what's happening outside. Oh. So it is part of the next step also. That right hand is what gives us the ability to understand what's going on in the tube that we'll talk about in our 18 inches a little bit later. So we're closing the circuit now between being spiritual and bringing that spirituality into the physical form and recognizing what's going on. And the next step will allow us then to begin to work with it and to take it out into the world.
Let's do a demonstration, Brenda. Let's let everybody who's listening position their hands.
Okay. The first thing I want you to, and as you become aware, don't just place your hand on your chest. Look at your hand. You've got a hand that's coming in. Between your hand and your body is a field of energy that you want to become familiar with. So as you bring that left hand into your chest, notice what you might notice taking place. What did you feel? But more than that, what did you notice? Did you seem to walk towards it? Or did you want to move away? Did it rest comfortably on your chest? The second thing is you do the same thing again with the right hand. There's space between the right hand and your body. Feel it as it positions itself on your body. Notice any sensations you might experience. The pure mechanics of what this does. There's nothing else.
And I see that we have frozen again. This is creating such an energy in the field between us. I mean, I'm feeling heart palpitations and yeah. So I am going to back us up here. My camera does not want to sit straight, but I'm going to do a backup just because we got a little more energy than our technology can handle.
I'm not surprised today.
All right, let's see. Wait a minute. We got to turn around. We don't want to do it that way. Let's go. Flip the camera. All right, I'm going to be kind of sideways because my tripod is broken and I haven't replaced it. Okay, here we go. Let's see. All right. This is just going to get me, unfortunately, unless I can turn it around to.
It won't matter.
Okay.
It won't matter.
All right. So continuing on, we had a little technical glitch, and left hand palm, space between on the heart, just kind of recapping here. Right hand, space between on the abdomen, just above the pubic bone. And then we were, continue.
Okay. One of the jokes a long time ago, before I had met a yogi master in Boulder, Colorado, who came in because he was doing a thing called simplified Kundalini yoga. And so we decided we'd look and see how the two of these, what does this do, this little technique? What he noticed when he positioned his hand was that his thumb kind of fell into his belly button also. And he started to laugh. And he said, that's where the circuit part came in. That's where we knew, because it's a very ancient, we have connected the three major connecting points in what his work was about. So interestingly enough, it became a joke, which kind of took some of the seriousness away from this and made it more usable for people just anywhere. They would come back in then and say, you know, I've been waking up every morning and my hands have been in this position. They would recognize that this was the positioning that they were in. As they began to progress in it and began to really experience it, what we knew was that the final closing of the circuit, when you are comfortable and you feel in that zone that we just hit a few minutes ago and blew out our system again, that if you will take your right hand then and bring it over the left hand.
Up in the heart.
With the heart.
Okay.
And what's doing then is that you are completely encased in your higher awareness. Because what's happening now is that you are working with the ancient chakra system, the power centers, but the routing is now moving through all of the systems in your body, thanks to the vagus system. Every system, every cell, every part of you has that potential and that moment to be as they were in the beginning. That means our intelligence is connected, not just our database brain, but our intelligence. Our brain is working with the body's systems. Everything is now in place. When that happens, notice what you're experiencing. What are you noticing right now in your awareness?
Yes, yes. And we invite people to leave comments.
Please do. Please do. Because what's happening right now is that you are expanding out fully into what we will talk with you about in a few minutes, the 18 inches. But this is the place that all of this begins. This is what I call the fulcrum. And some people have difficulty with the word quiet touch. The reason for the quiet touch was very specific. We're looking at bringing our awareness back to the bad news that has been attached to touch. Touch is a gift we give ourselves. And that our body requires it to work at peak efficiency. So we're calling it now sometimes completing the circuit. If you're taking it into a corporate arena and you are uncomfortable with using quiet touch, what you're doing is completing the circuit and letting that sort of bridge in building a language vocabulary that lets you take it somewhere else.
And I think, Brenda, the vocabulary, the terminology that we use is somewhat a separation device at times, because we're saying the same thing. There's not that big of a gap between science and spirituality. It's a matter of vernacular and how we are expressing that. But there's really a beautiful blend between our science and our biology and spirit and what our knowing and our divine intelligence is telling us. It's all connected.
Absolutely, and well put. And I think that was one of the prime reasons you and I came together, because we are so diverse in what our presentation, our work, and our experiences have been. And yet, by sitting at the table in conversations, what we began to do was to build one another's experiential vocabulary and find the similarities. And that's basically what these tools, the platform, I call it the platform of RBQT 18 inches, is designed to do, is to build a place, a safe place, physiologically, that we can come together with our diversity and be able to learn one another's language. Not so that I will go out and speak your language, I won't, nor do I require that you go out and speak my language. It's let's find where the commonality is that allows us to establish enough of a bridge that we are now recognizing that we are building between science, physiology, and spirituality. And they are now communicating at a higher dimensional vocabulary that allows it to include everyone. It is no longer selective. Let me talk with people of like mind and like vocabulary. We found very quickly that that's limiting. And you and I have had that experience as we've come together, that we have both expanded our language and our vocabulary, so that when I meet someone who is geared to where you speak, I can find our common thread. So we're no longer separate in our languages. We no longer pass judgment that they are different from us. We're all human beings in this body, desiring to bring in our divine intelligence, desiring to bring in the part of us that allows us to work with the diversity. So thank you for that. Excuse me.
It is the diversity that makes us unique in our expression of divinity within each of us. And the thing that we do have in common is our physical body. So it just makes sense that we would use the body then to not only connect with our source spirit, but to connect with one another. Uh-oh, I think you're frozen again. Well, that must have been a blast of power. Let's see if we can get back to it. There you are, coming back. We went way out there again.
Well, one of the interesting things is that what we're doing now is bridging between
I think I'll do
between where. Yeah, this is interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't usually have this much trouble on
because we're stepping outside of the boundaries today. We're bringing in the pieces now that are going to allow us to go to the next conversation.
Absolutely. So there's a lot of electromagnetic power in this itself, not just spiritual power, but electromagnetic transmissions that are coming through in what we're saying here, and how it's reverberating through the airwaves and how you're receiving it into your physical body.
Absolutely. And part of that is because we are electric and magnetic.
Yes.
The human design, the human being in its very complex design, was specifically here to do that thing, do that very thing. It's like we are projecting out of our heart. When you come into resonance by RBQT, what happens is that magnitude, that electromagnetic field that shoots out from every heart of every human being on the planet in a greater velocity than our brain output. What happens when we come into that absolute resonance, which is what we've done twice, and blown out your circuitry, because it amplifies in such a way that it transcends the limitations of the human perception. And that's kind of what's happening today, I think, and that's really good with you. And it's interesting that that we're being given an opportunity. For me, what's always a catalyst is recognizing that when we hit the next level of our experience, we add the vocabulary to that, what happens is we begin to understand what we're saying at a totally different level, which also means that we're now bringing in and bridging all of this into what's next. Mm-hmm. And everyone on the planet is going to their next first step right now.
Absolutely.
So in order for this to be valuable, the mechanics of it have to be, the mechanics of each piece of this have to be clear. How we do the reset, how we do quiet touch. When they learn the mechanics of just the positioning, the rest of it will automatically take care of itself. It will evolve at their level of awareness and understanding and willingness. So it will be the same for everyone who experiences it. For them to have the experience initially, right off the bat, that can happen if they're with someone and one-on-one doing that. They can actually have that experience. But to have it in the privacy of your own experience is when it becomes magic. Mm-hmm. That's when it becomes expansive. That's when it becomes something that you know that you are. It gives you that sense of who are you? This is who you are in your wholeness.
Mm-hmm. So coming together in our wholeness, our authentic expression of who we are. Isn't that what we all want? We want to be accepted and accept others. We want to be loved. We want to love others. And this is just a beautiful way of connecting with ourselves so we can do that.
Absolutely. And very well said. Thank you. Absolutely. And to not hesitate and to feel like you cannot be authentic or that you have to be perfect. You don't have to be any of that. This is about sharing that field with one another, bringing our fields together in a way that we are consciously aware of it, that we are participating in it, that we're not just talking language, that we're not just, sharing words, that we're actually merging ourselves. If we want to talk about oneness, which is a word that everybody seems to be using, I am curious about how many people actually understand and have an experience of that oneness, first with themselves and then with someone else. Because we can have it in segments, we can have it sometimes. This is how we were created to be.
To live and move and have our being in this field of consciousness, awareness of who we are as we're having a human experience, keeping that connection with our divine.
Yes.
That is the oneness. The oneness is within each of us.
Absolutely. And for us to be able to bridge that in this way gives everyone an opportunity to experience it themselves and make a choice.
Now, I want us to come back in just a few moments, and I'm going to do a separate video so that we can put it all together, the RBQT and the 18 inches. But let's take a break here so that we can keep the video at a nice size and that people can enjoy coming back to it and not have to listen for an hour. We're busy. People have busy lives. So we want to honor that. So we'll take a break here. Thank you, Brenda, for sharing with us about quiet touch today.
You're very welcome.